This particular podcast is very close to my heart because it has to do with chilling. Children. You're listening to Devil Tongue and Perfume, who I guess is half asleep.
Hello.
On Spreaker.com.
I'm not asleep.
www.spreaker.com. Thank you for the support. Please continue to follow Devil Tongue and Perfume on Spreaker.com. Twitter. I'm trying to get my other social media platforms up and running, such as SoundCloud and even Instagram. But you can also email devil.tongue@gmail.com. This year alone, it seems like there's been a lot of incidents of parents leaving their children in cars. Tragically, a lot of these children didn't make it, whether the vehicle was very hot, or most recently, even though the child was rescued by the police and fire department respectively, the mother left the child in the car in this cold weather while she went shopping. Let me say this. My own child, who now is a grown woman, when she was, young, maybe age 7, 8, if I had to leave her in my vehicle for any reason, I had a remote start, and I will say this. Okay, it's wintertime, it's cold, so what would I do? I would lock the doors, start the vehicle remotely, this way the heat is still going, while I, went inside the store to get what I had to get, and then came back out. The beauty of that is some evil character decided to try to drive away. At first they'd have to break the window to do so, but because it was remote start and the key was not inside, that vehicle wasn't going anywhere. As soon as you hit the brake, the vehicle would just shut off cold turkey. In this day and age where a lot of people's vehicles do start remotely, why is it that you are leaving the child? Well, first of all, you shouldn't be leaving your child in the vehicle anyway, but I play quote-unquote devil's advocate on that and say if it's just literally for two minutes or so, some parents will say no, never, 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 but hear me out. If you're just, running to the store to get baby formula, your infant's in the car seat, if you're not going to take the baby in the store with you, you feel, with her sleep, it's too much trouble, whatever your personal reason is, at least lock the doors on your vehicle. If it's hot, have the AC running. If it's cold, have the heat on. And make sure you come right back out. Don't just leave the vehicle running, because what boggles my mind is people who leave the vehicles running, door unlocked, and it almost seems, without fail, in these instances, someone always jumps in and drives away in that vehicle with the child in the back. Now, there's been good fortune in some of these cases where the person realized that the kid was in the back and they just abandoned the car. The child was unhurt. There was an incident some years ago where the person or persons jumped in the vehicle, saw the kids were in there, and had the gall to put the kids out, but still kept the car and kept going. Again, the children weren't hurt, but think about it. Anything could have happened. Like, what was worse? Them staying in the car with these guys, or them being put out on the street, and, now there's traffic, etc., etc., etc. You can sound off on this.
I don't know which one is worse. I don't think the parents or guardian should leave the child in the car.
And I'll agree. Period. But like I said...
Period. I understand you're thinking, okay, let me run in this store to get milk. It'll only take me a few seconds. Then why did you bring the child out with you? Oh, because there was nobody at home. Then you take the car, you follow that task completely. There was nobody at home to watch the child. So that's why you took the child in the car with you to go to get some milk from the store. Once you get to the store, take the child out the car with you and go to the store. But the child was sleeping. That's still no excuse.
We're going to talk about another incident that happened some weeks ago. Woman leaves her, I believe, her mother. This is the child's grandmother. They didn't specify what age she is, and her child in the car. Now, you would think, matter of fact, they were both in the back seat. Now, you would think, there's an adult in the car, right? Nothing should happen. Well, guess what? She goes into the drugstore for whatever, and somebody who was watching decided it was a blue moon for them that night. They jumped in the car and took off. Happy ending to that story. The person was caught by the cops because when the woman came back out, saw a car was missing, she went back in and the manager said, yeah, he saw on camera someone did get in her vehicle. Of course, they called the police and, et cetera, et cetera. But this goes back to locking of the doors. Listen, there's a rash going on probably across the whole nation, not just New York, where people are being robbed for their iPhones in particular. What are these guys doing? They'll walk up to a child. Hey, you got the time? What does the kid do? Pulls out his cell phone, assuming it's not already in his hand, to tell this person what time it is. And the person takes the phone out the hand and hauls butt. I'm going to stress, first of all, you have to be aware of your surroundings. That's number one. Your street smarts definitely have to kick in.
I need to interject here.
Yes, interject.
We all know how much an iPhone costs, whether you are leasing it or you paid for it.
Right.
Why are you 14 years old, you don't work on nobody's job, and you rolling around here in an iPhone? And may I add, the latest iPhone, if you got an iPhone. If I would give my kid an iPhone, it would be an iPhone 5.
Okay.
He don't need the latest one. And then when that person snatched the phone from that kid's hand, I'm quite sure he'll turn around and throw that phone right back at my kid's head. You got an iPhone 5? I did this for a 5? Because it don't make sense to give your child who's 14 the latest things.
We can't judge parents. We can't.
No, I can't.
I can only judge when it comes to...
I can to a certain extent.
Okay.
Because that's just showing carelessness. When you give your child something, you giving him something of expensive like that, you're giving it to them because you think that they're responsible. When someone says to you, excuse me, can you tell me the time, and you don't have a watch, it's on your iPhone, do you take out your iPhone and go, oh, it's 2:30? Or you just say, no, I don't have a watch. It's because you know how much it costs. You know how much struggle you have to go to every day on your job just to pay for that bill so that phone could be on.
Well, that's
a level of responsibility. And when you gave that phone to your kid, that 11, you was hoping that your child had that level of responsibility, that level of common sense, that he knows that that's a very expensive phone, and that's the hottest phone out here, along with that latest Samsung, and people will take it from you. Come on. But kids today, they just show off like that.
You're listening to Devil Tongue and Perfume on Spreaker.com, www.spreaker.com. Let's take a sidebar to that. Military time, or the 2400 clock. When young people, can't just say men, go into the military, it's a little tricky at first, but then they learn that PM, 1 p.m. is 1300, 2 p.m. is 1400, so on and so forth. Midnight is 2400, quad 0. And 1 a.m. will be 0100. I'm bringing this fact up because today's children, unless the parents really, really teach them themselves, these children don't know how to tell time on an analog watch or an analog clock.
Because the parents don't know how to tell time on an analog clock. Everything is digital. Right.
But that's also up there with children not knowing how to write in cursive.
And my thing is, when I found that as being a parent, If I was to find that out, okay, maybe one parent can't do anything, but I would teach my child how to cursive. Everything I write to my child, I will purposely write in cursive. Because how would that child, when they get of age and apply for a job and they say, sign here, and the child print, and they be like, okay, you were supposed to print here, but you were supposed to sign there. How would they do that?
I know I can't really speak for social workers or, well, almost any profession, but I know it must be very, very frustrating when you tell someone to sign their name and either A, they print, or B, they put an X. Now, if an X is acceptable, which anyone can put an X on the paper, right? That's one thing. But when the person tells you, well, I don't want to sign my name, how old are you? What does that matter?
It is very frustrating. I'm going to give you, okay, like you like to go sidebar, to show you how frustrating it is. Sidebar. But I'm the church clerk at my church, right? And when I do letters, do you know it took me forever to figure out how to get my pastor to sign a letter? He know how to write in cursive, but he would sign at the wrong place. You know how you type the person's name and they supposed to sign above the printed type name? He was signed at the bottom. So that means that we did a church resolution for someone who passed away. There's 3 signatures: the pastor, the trustees, and the church clerk. That means that the signatures are going underneath the name, which that looks tacky. And there are certain things I'm very asinine about, and I used to always get on him. Then I bought these post-its and put by the post-it, sign here. He still will mess up.
You know what's...
So what I do now is I have everybody else sign the letters, and then he's the last one to sign. So he knows you don't sign underneath your printed name. You sign above your printed name. So yeah, for social workers or whoever, if the child know how to read and write, and you say to them, sign here, and they print, it is very frustrating. And especially if you didn't know that they took cursive out of schools.
Which is another societal problem. You know what? When I sign on pads, I can't stand how sloppy my name looks. You know, I mean, but there, almost anything, as long as it's close to your signature, is acceptable. What about when you sign the back of your credit or debit card? You know, you figure to yourself, well, it's mine. What does it matter? This is Christmas time. And this is the number one time of the year when a lot of forgeries go on. So, you know, you're looking in your purse or you pat in your pocket like, oh, wow, my wallet's gone. Somebody decided to go to, well, any store. Macy's, Target, whatever, Walmart. And go on a spree. I will give the utmost kudos to the clerk who says, okay, I need to see a piece of ID with your signature. As opposed to the person just putting the card in, you know, and walking away because there's no PIN required.
Well, before the PIN became real required and you had to sign the credit card receipt,
right?
I had a cousin that showed me this trick where the back of your credit card where you're supposed to sign,
right? You
can write show ID.
Yes.
And they will not honor that card until you show them an ID and the names on that card is matching.
Now, some of you, you know, because we're all creatures of convenience, you don't want to be bothered with that. You don't want to go through that. Hey, I get it, because even I go to the 10 items or less line at the store. I want to get out of there as fast as possible. But identity theft is also a problem. And in terms of someone burning your credit card, you know, to ashes, or your debit card to ashes, it's just a big headache. Yeah, sure, you know, you can get the money back, some of it anyway, but it's still a big hassle. You know, I feel children need to learn how to tell time. They need to learn how to write in cursive. And parents,